Car chases are dangerous and unpredictable. Viewer discretion advised.
Before KCAL 9 News here at noon, as we are now following a CHP pursuit. This is a strange one. You see that officer following what appears to be a limo party bus right now in the fast lane, in the carpool lane. So this just started minutes ago. Trying to get an exact location for you on where this chase is happening. But again, what we know at this point, and we're going to stay on this, of course, is CHP attempting to, well, stop this limo party bus. Not sure if it was stolen or what caused CHP to initiate the chase, whether they were doing some sort of traffic violations. I'm not even sure how many people are on the party bus. I mean, it is not even noon. Wondering what this bus might have been doing out and about at the time, which is why I kind of assume it may be a stolen party limo bus that CHP is chasing right now. We have Sergeant Darren Wyatt on the phone, the expert in all of these police chases with his career that he has had. Darren, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Jasmine, how are you? Yeah, interesting times here. We seem to get all the strange ones lately, but yeah, a party bus at this time of day. Great question. Is it stolen or is it loaded? If it is loaded, is the driver potentially, taken hostage by people on the bus? These are all things that we just don't know at this point.
Yeah, and it's not going too fast or doing any crazy moves that I've seen so far, which, is concerning in a vehicle this large. I know it's speeding and going above that speed limit there on the freeway, but, something this large, Darren, speak to that. I mean, the damage it can cause some of those other smaller cars right next to it and the drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. If it makes a sudden move and collides with the car, it's going to cause some damage. The other thing is it limits the opportunities by the police department or the highway patrol to engage in pursuit intervention techniques because of the high center of gravity. They can't do a pit maneuver on a vehicle of this size, it causes all kinds of problems.
That is a good point, right? Not being able to do those pit maneuvers. Would they still attempt to put out a spike strip?
They could potentially attempt to put out a spike strip because it doesn't usually cause the vehicle to lose immediate control. It's usually more of a delayed response in that, but pit maneuver would certainly be out. Again, too, a vehicle of this size, if it starts getting onto city streets and needing to brake aggressively, the brakes are going to go out much quicker because of just the size and the weight of the vehicle.
Yeah, okay, so we are now just getting confirmation, Darren, that I, in fact, was right in the guess that this was stolen. It was stolen out of San Diego around 10 this morning. So CHP pursuing a stolen limo party bus from San Diego, and now it's reaching here into Southern California, into Los Angeles. And again, as you're mentioning, this is a large vehicle, so easy to spot as this was reported stolen and CHP able to find it, and now just trying to pull that driver over.
But again, the high speeds, fortunately not in and out of traffic, seems to be holding pretty steady to the carpool lane or the HOV lane there, not moving in and out from what we've seen so far, but still at high speeds and a large heavy vehicle that should it make a sudden move, it would be easy for it to lose control and potentially cause a collision with other vehicles on the freeway.
Yeah, and we've seen the tragic consequences of that. The stolen Amazon truck that just happened a few days ago, a deadly crash that resulted in another high-profile vehicle. I mean, stolen ambulances, fire trucks, mail trucks. I mean, and it just adds that other level of danger to what already is a very serious and dangerous situation.
Yeah, correct. In this case, we don't know if the vehicle had a full tank of gas at the time it was stolen. We don't know if it was stolen from a storage lot or what the circumstances are. But these vehicles have large gas tanks, and these diesel engines can go for a long way on a tank of gas. So we don't know where we're going to go. We do see him moving out of the carpool lane, and potentially is he going to transition here or exit?
Yeah, let's see if he does take this exit. I know you're a few seconds behind what we are seeing here live on KCAL, is going behind some of those trees on the side of the freeway. I'm going to tell my producers, try to get me a better location just to give, people a heads up. Okay, we know on the 405, and I'll try to make out some of the signage as he drives past. So, yeah, 405. one of the busiest, if not the busiest, freeways here in Los Angeles. And at the moment, it doesn't look too crowded, which is why he's just cruising along and able to kind of change these lanes so easily. One of the main freeways here, Darren.
Yeah, it did look like when he did make the lane changes, he slowed significantly, which is a good thing. Especially with a vehicle this size, it does make it more difficult to make rapid movements like that. But yeah, I have about a 30-second delay. It does look like he's still outside of the HOV lane, but still holding over towards the right.
Yeah, and at this moment, I'm not seeing a ton of officers. I know we haven't really panned too far out, but so what is the case with this? When they decide to push back or call themselves off, when things become just too dangerous, I'm seeing at least 1 or 2 officers at the moment, and I'm sure they have some air support as well.
Yeah, typically, in most agencies, the pursuit policy would be for 2 units and a supervisor to be directly involved in the pursuit. In some of these ones where we see that there's multiple people in the car, or we know that the suspects are armed, have been involved in violent crimes, supervisors can authorize more units to be involved directly or indirectly where they're blocking traffic or trailing. But typically, in a normal pursuit, something like this, 2 units and a supervisor would be what you would expect to see.
Oh, okay. So then I guess they will continue on until they learn more about the suspect. And as you mentioned, Jeff, trying to find out if this was an armed robbery when this was stolen out of San Diego around 10 this morning. We've been on this for the last, I guess, 10 minutes or so, and we have continued to just see no attempt at trying to stop the stolen limo bus by any of those CHP officers, but they are following close behind and trying to see if they can somehow make contact with the suspect as well. I mean, that's also another tactic used.
Yeah, if they can identify who the suspect is, absolutely. And we don't know. Maybe there's a radio that is inside of the vehicle that their base station can contact with. There might be a way to do that. I would tell you that, there's no ideal condition to be involved in a pursuit. There just isn't. However, this would be about ideal if you're looking for ideal, not erratic, staying on the freeway, light traffic, not making extreme maneuvers. So at this point, they can just continue to follow the vehicle until the guy gives up, runs out of gas. And I say guy, we don't even know who the driver is. Could be a female. We've seen that recently a lot as well. But, they can just continue to pursue. And we're seeing that trying to get that tight shot into the window, and it appears that it's probably tinted or dark. You can't really see who the driver is at this point. But for the public that's out there, stay out of the way, let the officers do their job, and hopefully we'll be able to resolve this without anybody being injured.
Absolutely. Okay, so again, just catching people up, if you are just now tuning in to KCAL 9 News here at noon, we started a few minutes early as we are following a CHP chase of a stolen limo party bus out of San Diego. It happened around 10 this morning. You can see the size of this bus. So we have Sergeant Darren White on the phone with me, retired sergeant there, and he's been talking out of the Mission Hills area. Okay, my producer just telling me stolen out of the Mission Hills area this morning, but Sergeant White has been talking about just the vehicle of this size, making it hard for CHP officers to perform a pit maneuver. It was in the carpool lane and has been changing lanes, but no extreme maneuvers or erratic driving, just continuing to go at some high speeds away from those officers. We don't know if the gas tank is full, which this could go into hours, wherever the suspect may be headed. In North Hills? Okay, I'm just getting some clarification from our producers. Again, the information just coming in is this just started maybe 15, 20 minutes ago that we jumped on it and we're able to find it there with the CHP officers. Yeah, and whether there is a radio, and Sergeant White, you had a good point. A radio in the limo bus, if they've tried to make contact with the suspect or suspects inside, the windows are tinted, so you can't really make out much. Just maybe I see an arm through the window there. But yeah, I mean, at this point, they have to wait and see what this person does.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jessen, does the chopper have the map tracker? I've not seen that on this with the speed. Do we know how fast he's going? It does appear to be going faster than the normal flow of traffic, but we don't know exactly what speed we're going.
No, we haven't been able to pop that up yet, so I'm not sure how fast the speeds. I'm not seeing those yet. which we usually have been able to track because he is passing all those other drivers. And thankfully, it's the 405 here isn't crowded with a ton of cars that he has to swerve around or potentially cause an accident. But you can see as he approaches some of those other cars, definitely going above that speed limit. And maybe some of the drivers not even aware that a chase is happening, as is the case, because you can see just how far back that those two CHP officers are still behind him.
Right, yeah. And I don't know if you caught it a second ago, the driver's left hand came off the steering wheel and was making some gestures. I seriously doubt that he was making gestures to anybody beside him. But, maybe he's on the telephone with somebody and speaking via Bluetooth to somebody, and there might be conversation going on. Maybe somebody knows who it is and is pleading with him to pull over and give up. And if that's the case, that's the safest thing to do, is just pull over, give up, and let the officers do what they need to do.
Okay, and some new information for you, Darren. We are now hearing that it was the owner of this limo bus who called CHP and told them that it had been stolen and that he has a GPS tracker on the bus. So he told CHP exactly where to find it, which, by this point you would think suspects would have figured. I mean, a lot of cars these days have the GPS trackers on them. So it was very easy, it seems, for CHP to find the stolen party bus because the owner helped track it down after it was stolen out of the North Hills area around 10 this morning. And I am told maybe going about 70 to 80 miles per hour. So not extremely fast, but definitely faster than the speed limit there.
Yeah. And that would also explain why the officers aren't right on his tail. There's no need to.
Mm-hmm. Right, letting him do his thing. I see and he's using his blinker to change lanes. Breaking all these other laws and using the blinker to get back into the carpool lane. Darren, did I lose you? Oh, yeah. Sorry, Darren, I was getting some updated information from my producer. What were you saying? Okay, he might have cut out a little bit, but anyway, my producer was just telling me that the driver of this bus was apparently going to pick up a client in Pacific Beach. Is that correct? And then maybe had gotten out or had done something, and we don't know if this was an armed carjacking or how the suspect was able to then steal the limo bus, but it was on a job. It was going out to, again, pick up someone in Pacific Beach, and this is how it happened. Okay, so we did lose Darren. We'll try to get him back on the line. He has such good insight into how these things play out and has been with us on so many of these police chases. So I'm hoping the driver's okay, that employee of the Top Dog limo party bus. So it looks like that was the company's name, the insignia right there on the top part of the trailer. I hope he's okay. How he came out of the carjacking or the stolen bus and is unclear, whether he, again, was away from the bus or had been somehow told to get out of this bus so the suspect could steal it. Okay, so we have someone else joining us. CHP, we have from the CHP, Officer Salcedo joining me. Hi, officer.
Hi, how are you doing, Gavin?
Good. We had Sergeant Darren Wine with us, offering some insight into how this all plays out and just the high profile, this vehicle being as big as it is. So talk to me about that. How do you put an end to something like this? Because you can't do a pit maneuver because this limo bus it just doesn't work well with pit maneuvers.
That too, and we don't know if there's any occupants in the back of that limo driver, so we wouldn't want to put that out there.
Say that again?
Yeah. So we don't know if there's any occupants in back of that limo bus, so it's not even an option that we
yeah, right. And the danger that would pose, exactly, to if anyone else is inside of the bus.
Yeah, we don't know that just yet. All we know is just the driver that's in there. We don't know if there's any other occupants.
Okay, so we know just at least, obviously, the driver. We're even unclear if it was one suspect or two suspects who stole the party bus.
That's correct. We're unclear about that. We're still looking into that.
Okay, so again, tell me about how this all played out, what you know at this point. I've given some of the information, but we'll go ahead and kind of recap what we know at this point.
Well, we got the call at 11:35 this morning of this limo bus being stolen out of the San Diego area at 10 a.m. And that's when our officers saw it and pursued it and been following it ever since here on the 405.
Okay, and going into the Sylmar area, so this person, the suspect, just keeps sticking to the 405 freeway. We have not seen him or her exit or even do much in terms of erratic driving, which is good. And you know, and we've even seen the person use the blinker to get back into the carpool lane.
Yeah, that's correct. We're hoping he runs out of gas and everything ends safely. No one gets hurt.
Exactly, and that is always what we hope for in these situations. Of course, you know, that it ends peacefully, pulls over, taken into custody, and puts this all to an end. But this could go on for hours, though, because you mentioned the gas. It's a big vehicle, and it has a full tank, possibly.
Yeah, we don't know that just yet. But yeah, like you said, this could go on for hours. We're hoping it doesn't. We're hoping that he just pulls over and gives himself up.
Mm-hmm. So do we know how so I know you said we don't know if the employee there is in the back. I mean, do you have any word at all on who the employee, the driver was that this was stolen from?
No, we don't, Jasmine.
Okay. And they were going to some sort of call or even how this happened, correct?
No, we don't.
Okay. What we know at this point was just the driver was going to pick up a client in Pacific Beach, and as Officer Salcedo just mentioned, around 10 this morning, and then they got a call about an hour later because of the GPS tracker.
That's right, yes. I guess it does have GPS, and that's how the employers found it.
Okay. I mean, and they do this just for these reasons, and to be able to also see probably where their employees are and the time needed to get places, but in this case coming in handy when something like this happens, when it is stolen, and then they're able to alert officers to it. Okay, so I mentioned Sylmar. Now we are on the 14 freeway. So we've gone from the 405 to the 14, not as well, a main freeway as well, but just heading more north now, and also not encountering a ton of traffic there at this time of day around noon on a Tuesday. But again, just steady. We have not seen this driver, the suspect, swerve or try to exit the freeway. So not sure if he has a destination, he or her. We don't know the gender, obviously, of the suspect, but if they have a destination in mind, or if they're just going to keep driving away from these CHP officers. And now, do you hand off at some point now that we're reaching other freeways, other jurisdictions?
Yeah, so they're heading towards the Lancaster, Palmdale area, so our officers up there in that area will take over the pursuit.
And officer, we did just see a squad car, one of these officers, pass the limo bus. So would they be trying to perform some sort of a block? Or I mean, how do you put something like this to an end if you can't do a pit maneuver?
Yeah, the best option for us would be that he runs out of gas and pulls over. I did see that officer. I don't know what he was doing, though. He might be either heading to a call or something.
Okay.
Something a little different.
Okay. So not sure if it is part of this same response here.
Correct.
I see him coming up. He is coming pretty close to the. I think it's just a smaller truck in front of him or something. So I'm wondering if he's getting over to then exit the 14, heading into the Lancaster Palmdale area. Again, we're going to stay on this. You're watching live on KCAL 9 News here at noon. Police chase underway. The CHP in charge of this, of a stolen limo party bus that was stolen out of San Diego this morning. CHP then got the call because the owner had a GPS tracker on the party bus and called CHP to alert them to the location. We've seen the suspect here going about 70 to 80 miles per hour, so nothing extreme, but just continuing up and onto different freeways. So from the 405 now to the 14. We know that a vehicle this size poses a whole other danger to drivers out there and also to officers in a situation like this, because they can't do a pit maneuver. They don't know how much gas, if the tank is full, or how long this will go on. They also don't know much about the suspect still, whether there are multiple people inside of the limo party bus, if the suspect is armed, if there are any hostages inside, if the driver, the employee who it was stolen from, is still there. So trying to figure out and piece together all these details, and at the same time, not to lose sight of the limo party bus and to protect other drivers, officer, out there on the road. Okay, Officer Salcedo is with us. He probably had to jump off. Are you still there, officer? Okay, so a busy day for him. We're going to let Officer Salcedo do his thing and try to get Sergeant Darren White back on the phone. He had been with me as well, offering some insight into this chase. Yeah, the stolen party bus. It's just very strange what in a situation like this, and then to know that a suspect, this person thinking that they can get away with something like this of this size, and why they would want to take it in the first place. And it was actually on a job. It was responding to an appointment, a reservation made by someone in Pacific Beach. So the employee was working, the driver there, when that person just had a really bad morning. And unfortunately, this was then stolen. And we're not even sure about the circumstances. And I'm hoping that employee, the driver, is okay. And not that it wasn't violent or anything. But we just don't know until they're hoping, as Officer Salcedo said, that this comes to an end peacefully, that they either run out of gas or they just pull over and surrender, knowing that there is really nowhere to go with this. They're just going to continue to follow this person until they just have to stop. Sergeant Wyatt, back with us now. I heard your dogs barking in the background, so I didn't know if you had to go or do something urgent, but I'm glad you're back with me.
Yeah, they cut me for the CHP guy, but so I heard some of the updates. Good news is that they should be able to get additional information here soon as to whether or not that employee is still on the bus and whether or not there are additional occupants on the bus or not. So they should be able to get that information soon based on the circumstances. Also, whether or not the suspect is armed. You know, in a situation like this, a carjacking, that could be use of force, just hands pulling the driver away, or it could be a weapon. We don't know yet, but we should be able to learn that soon.
Right, exactly, and that's what I was thinking. I mean, now that this has gone on for, an hour or half hour, to get those additional details from the victim, or finding out if the victim is even able to give that kind of information and piecing this together. All right, so at this point, and the officer Salcedo said the same thing. I mean, it's just kind of a wait it out if this guy runs out of gas or this girl.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that explains too why the officers are holding back a little bit. You know, a vehicle of this size is not going to make as extreme maneuvers. Gives them an opportunity to react to the suspect's actions. Also, something that a lot of people don't think about in these pursuits. You know, when they're tight and moving back and forth like that, the public is trained to pull to the right when they see the lights and the sirens like that. And sometimes when the suspects are holding onto the right shoulder like this, it can cause accidents when people move over into the officers. If you've looked back when we do the wider shot, the officers aren't directly behind the vehicle. They're over in the further left lanes, which gives them more time to react and also gives the public time to react and get out of their way. And that's one of the benefits of it not being excessively high speeds and not having extreme erratic maneuvers. Right,
exactly. Oh, man, yeah, all those other elements that come into play, and to protect all the other innocent drivers who don't know what's going on, and having this approach so quickly behind them. A very good point. We also, and you had a good point, I think you brought this up, Darren, about the radio in the limo bus. You would think that would be a way to contact, and just, who knows if the suspect would obviously respond or if they can even identify that person at this point. But yeah, have they tried to contact the suspect? Or, maybe they do know who this is if the victim is able to give them those kind of details and information.
Yeah, the radio would potentially be an option, yet you don't know what the range of the radio would be, and information like that. Just something that they'd be thinking about. But seeing this wide shot, you've seen how that the lead unit is in that number one lane, which would allow people to move out of the way as opposed to being right on the suspect's tail, as we often see on the high-speed erratic maneuver pursuits. But wide open freeway here with very little traffic. So as we said, there's no ideal conditions for a pursuit, but this would be about as good as you could get.
Yeah, exactly. And even the 405 did not have a lot of traffic on it at noon on a Tuesday, which allowed the suspect to jump from the carpool lane into some of the other lanes, and we weren't sure if he was going to exit at one point, and then used his blinker to then get back into the carpool lane. So it was just strange, maybe, force of habit, I guess, as you're maneuvering all over the place. What other, when we look at these, and it's just shocking to me that anyone, would want to put themselves into this situation and why they steal in the first place. But, a vehicle like this, a big party bus, they're hoping for parts or who knows. But what other chases have you seen similar to this, Darren, in your career?
I think we've seen just about everything. We've seen motorhomes. We've seen big rigs. We've seen ambulances. A number of years ago, probably close to 30 years ago in San Diego, we actually saw a tank. So we've seen virtually any kind of vehicle that a person could operate. We've seen them in these pursuits. The sad part is that a number of years ago, the sentences for these pursuits was increased to help deter them. But in recent years, with some of the new laws that we've seen, there's not a lot of penalty for this, and so it's not a deterrent. And it's sad times, because we see even just this last week where these things do end up in very, very serious crashes, sometimes fatal, and innocent people are the ones that lose their lives in these crashes, many times not the suspects.
And it happens so frequently here in the Los Angeles area. You know what, Darren? We actually, and I missed this, and I don't know if it was just because it happened so fast, but let's go ahead and play back some of the video. Watch, this bus avoided a spike strip from earlier on your right-hand side of the screen. So maybe that's why the officers sped ahead. Yeah, sure enough, parked on the side of the road there, had laid down a spike strip, but the driver, the suspect, avoided it. So swerved around the spike strip that they attempted to lay down there in the freeway. And talk about a dangerous tactic. I mean, that officer had to run out into the lanes of traffic, and then, as we've seen, Darren, you say, I mean, it's within mere seconds that they have to get out of the way.
Yeah, and we've seen it, unfortunately, more than we'd like to, where the officers have been struck and killed by this. We had one here on KCAL probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago, where the suspect actually swerved towards the officer, the deputies that were trying to lay out the spike strip. So the spike strips are very, very dangerous to deploy. But we do what we can to try and end these things without anybody being hurt.
Yeah, maybe we can pull up that video again. I mean, it's because we were so far back a little bit to see that spike strip, but you know, at least they're attempting and not letting this go on for hours, as it very well could. So we're going to pull up this video again. So watch this. He passes the officer, and then I don't know, Darren, can you make out where the spike strip had been across just a few of the lanes then?
It's probably over the number 1 and 2 lane, and he swerved over. The good thing is he did not lose control when he made that evasive maneuver. I had seen that SUV pass in the carpool lane, and then it just all of a sudden appeared there. But so it just did not make it far enough out into the roadway for the suspect to go over it. But,
I mean, and they take the chance that other drivers won't drive over the spike strip, or I mean, I guess that's the risk.
Well, they pull it, they retract it as soon as they do. So they try and get ahead. Where in a situation like this, where we saw very little traffic there, they'll get it out there, and as soon as the suspect goes over it or avoids it, they pull it back and retract it real quick. Because the other thing is, you don't want the officers to hit it and suffer damage to their vehicles and no longer be able to pursue. So
right, and that would cause a whole nother slew of problems. Exactly. And you guys practice, I'm sure, I mean, constantly, daily. I mean, how often do these officers have to go through all of these police chase scenarios?
We have all of the annual training for evasive driving techniques, emergency driving techniques. Supervisors oftentimes, in slow times, especially on graveyards, they'll take their guys out and do impromptu trainings with it. Obviously not with pit maneuvers, but with spike strips and those types of devices. So it's an ongoing type of thing. And there was a famous commander from the Highway Patrol, Gordon Graham, who's a liability expert. And he talks about those types of events that are, high-risk, low-frequency events and how they need to train. So the CHP has done a great job about training their people on these, high-risk, low-frequency events.
So this suspect has now gone from the 405 to the 14 into the Lancaster-Palmdale area. And on top of this, I mean, I guess at the moment we're not seeing any rain, hail, or extreme winds that can cause these high-profile vehicles to just topple over. We have a winter storm that's approaching that we're talking about. But again, at the moment, not seeing any kind of weather to make it dangerous, not only for the officers, but then maybe for the other drivers out there on the road, you know, in the way of this CHP chase. So that's kind of something else we're watching in terms of the weather and how it's going to impact just our driving conditions. But again, at the moment, it's dry, so officers are able to still, you know, safely, I guess, as safely as they can, continue to follow the suspect.
Yeah, those are variables that will come into play should the weather change and the weather shift. And as you said, that the winds are not necessarily as much of an issue for the police vehicles, but for a high-profile vehicle like this, could certainly be an issue, especially with control at these high speeds and when he's making maneuvers to try and avoid other vehicles and or the attempts by the CHP to stop the pursuit, spike strips, etc. Right.
I'm looking up the company. We've been reporting that it's the name on top of the party bus was Top Dog Limo Bus. And just according to their website, you know, based out of the San Diego area, you know, they have this big fleet of all of these Top Dog limo buses. They have the smaller ones, and this appears to be their largest limo bus that they have in their fleet. And in fact, this was actually on a call, or this had been reserved for someone in Pacific Beach when all of this happened.
Well, hopefully the company's been able to facilitate getting those clients transported where they needed to be without too much of an inconvenience here. But oftentimes some of these buses also have, you know, dash cams and video cameras inside that will show the occupants, et cetera. I'm wondering if there's any way that the company can, you know, their webcams log in and see what's going on inside the vehicle.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're right. These not only have the radios or the work cell phones, but yeah, maybe some video cameras as well. They mentioned some of their drivers. I'm just scrolling through the Top Dog website, some of their drivers and, you know, all the reviews from their past clients. And so just, I mean, at this point, I guess it's pretty clear that there was no party going on inside. It wasn't like this was filled with people yet. That the suspect saw this just maybe as a crime of opportunity. If the door had been left open, the keys in the ignition, as maybe the driver had stepped out. And we are still waiting, Darren, to hear how that driver is doing, the victim in all of this, who's carjacked or just caught by surprise when he came out, and the limo bus was just gone.
Yeah, I would think that by now the CHP should have that information. It's probably been relayed to the ground units, even though the officer that called in didn't have it when he was on the line with you. But they should most definitely have that information by now. You know, the other thing with these pursuits that go on for a long time is the helicopter flight time is usually about 2 hours. So fortunately, the CHP has offices all over the state of California, and the mutual aid system in Southern California is very robust. So should this helicopter need to land and refuel, they're probably already talking about getting a relief airship to take over for them while they need to do that.
Right, planning ahead, because who knows how long this is going to go on. And maybe they'll attempt that spike strip again. Okay, speaking of.
Yeah, I thought I just saw a unit on the left shoulder there, and wondering if they did try it.
Well, let's go ahead. We're going to pull up the video. We've now highlighted. We've had a few minutes to, because where I'm watching on all of our monitors here in the studio where I'm sitting, it was hard for me. Okay. I'm leaning forward now. I can see it's a small little line there, right next to the officer's car. But like you said, yeah, he was able to get right around it, and was able to keep driving.
Yeah, it seems like the speeds are increasing now as well, a little bit, as he's passing vehicles that we hadn't seen that happening as much.
Okay, 14 in Acton, but it looks like he got off, or is that just how empty the no, that's just how empty the freeway is. Okay, so he's still on the 14 now in Acton.
Yep, still going.
Passing a larger bus there on the left. Yeah, it's just, you know, if this. And we always wonder if this suspect is familiar with the area, you know, if he has a destination in mind where he's going to try to get out and run, or, you know, they sometimes, you know, in those smaller trucks or cars that have been stolen, they park in parking structures, which is very unfortunate, and they're able to just kind of escape into the maze of the parking lot or parking structure, and police have to go in, make a perimeter, and shut it down and try to find the suspects. But in this, I think that's going to be much more difficult to try to jump out and hide.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you just saw that, Jasmine, where the suspect went around a vehicle that was in the carpool lane, but that vehicle was signaling to move over and then did move to the right. And that's one of those dangerous things that you talk about when the units are approaching and people can pull in front of them. And that's, again, why those units are sitting back, sitting in the number 1 lane and the carpool lane to warn people and get them out of the way and not being so tied up on the suspect like this. But you know, we are seeing higher speeds now than what it appeared to be earlier.
Yeah, sure enough. Yeah, it definitely seems to be picking up speed here and flying past a lot of those other drivers. So that's also concerning. The Top Dogs Limo Bus's website says, you know, this has been a long-standing company in San Diego for more than 30 years. I'm not sure if they've ever had anything like this happen to them before, but they've had these luxury limo buses for 30+ years. So a company well known, it seems, in the area, and a lot of the drivers, they say, have been with them a long time as well. So just, you know, it's just unfortunate, obviously, for the company to now be dealing with this, and I again hope that driver's okay.
Yep, yeah. And I'm sure that we should have that information soon, as the status of the driver, whether he was released, whether he is on the bus, et cetera. You see the unit passing another one there. We might be going into a different CHP jurisdiction now, and they're transitioning lead units. We see that frequently when these pursuits go on for a long time and move from CHP office, jurisdictional office to jurisdictional office, et cetera, where they'll pass it off to the next jurisdiction or the next office.
Oh, okay. And they do that seamlessly, obviously, but other patrol cars will just get in line and then take it from there?
Yep. Whenever they cross into the next office area, there'll be units waiting for them. They'll be up on the freeway, probably, you know, continuing to move forward. And as they pass, it's just almost like a relay race where you pass the baton to the next unit.
Okay. I'm going to update our viewers really quickly. Sergeant Darren Wyatt with us live on the phone right now. The CHP chase of a stolen party bus out of San Diego. And we just saw a few minutes ago that the bus here, the driver, the suspect, was able to avoid a spike strip. Whether CHP will make another attempt, yet to be seen, but they are trying to bring this to an end, not just let the suspect run out of gas. That could stretch into hours. So what we know right now is stolen out of the San Diego area around 10 this morning. The owner called CHP when it happened within the hour, because he had a GPS tracker on this stolen limo party bus. And so he was able to tell CHP and those officers where it was. It's picked up speed from the 80 miles per hour that it was driving on the 405. It got onto the 14 into the Acton area. And CHP has been behind it ever since getting that phone call from the owner. But again, a vehicle this size is hard to stop and poses other dangers to other drivers, and also if it was to tip over, and also a vehicle as a weapon. As again, we have Sergeant Darren Wine with us, but a vehicle this size also a weapon in itself. You know, whether it swerves towards those officers trying to lay the spike strip, or when it finally gets pulled over and comes to a stop.
Yeah. Interestingly, we've seen them going at high speeds now, slowed down significantly, moved over to the right, trailing behind that the big rig with the cargo container on it, wondering what the next move's going to be here. Fortunately, we have not seen him weaponize the vehicle at all in this chase, but yes, we have seen that become almost like a trend of late. Looks to me like onto the shoulder a little bit. Again, I've got like a 30-second delay from what you're seeing here. Are you seeing a transition here or exiting?
He's exiting. Yep, exactly. Right now, and still behind that tractor trailer, and not really trying to get around it. It's coming to a stop as he just exited the 14 with the CHP close behind. Darren, will officers, okay, they won't take advantage of any kind of stop. They want to see, obviously, what this suspect will do. I'm not trying to get out and stop him if he is, you know, up at a light or a stop sign, right?
No, especially with the vehicle of this size, that as we're just talking about, could be used as a weapon. You know, he could put it in reverse and ram the the patrol unit while the unit, the officers standing outside, which could be very, very bad. Trying to get a look through the windshield now. It does seem to be a male driver, is what you know. It's very fuzzy, but it does look like it's probably a male driver. But, you know, now in some pretty tight traffic here, now finally getting around, we had the truck pull over for the pursuit to continue through.
Yeah, it is hard to see.
This is where it gets really, really dangerous, especially with a vehicle of this size. And if it starts getting at these high speeds again on city streets, especially if it gets into more populated areas, really do not like seeing that.
Oh, absolutely right. It's been on the freeway wide open for the most part. But yeah, you mentioned city streets. I can imagine this going through some narrow car-lined streets, and it's in the desert now. So there's not much in terms of homes or neighborhoods at the moment. What got off the 14? I'm going to try to figure out what is this frontage road, this road that he's now on.
It almost looks like it's another highway. It's obviously not a freeway, but looks like it's a pretty, like more of a highway.
Yeah. Oh, just rammed right into the back of a driver. Yep. Swerved across the lanes after that collision with a driver. So just out of control there, and it just couldn't slow down, as maybe that driver had braked or stopped in front of him, hearing the sirens from the police officers. Oh, okay. So officers are out. We have the owner of Top Dog watching this with us as it unfolds. Sir, what's your name?
My name is Susie Lightsky.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Yes, we're looking at your stolen limo party bus, and you guys were able to alert officers because of the GPS tracker. We just saw it come to an end, or at least hopefully the end right now, after it just crashed into another driver. Tell me, you know, is your driver okay? The employee? Oh, the door's opening.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is all unfolding as I'm talking to you now.
Is it a car?
Oh, it's a little noisy. Go ahead. Susie. Okay, Susie, the owner of the Top Dog. Go ahead, Susie.
Hi.
I'm so sorry this happened to you. Is your driver okay, who this was stolen from?
Yes, he's okay.
Okay.
He's fine. We're just hoping that this person stops soon.
It is. The driver, the suspect, is out, hands up, walking toward officers, following their commands to then get down. It's a woman. Wow. Okay.
It's a woman driver?
A woman Yeah, it was a woman, and she's backing toward officers. So this after she collided and crashed into the...
It just hit a car right now.
Yeah. Susie, tell me what happened this morning, what your driver was able to tell you.
He got out of the vehicle to go pick up his clients, and somebody jumped into the bus.
That quickly.
And took off with it. Yeah.
Wow. Have you had this happen before? I mean, these are, you know, you have this whole fleet.
No, never had it.
Never. And you're in your 30+ years of operating.
Yeah, well, I've only had it since 2020, but Russell was the owner for 30+ years.
Wow.
And he's never had that happen to him either.
No. And I'm so glad your driver's okay, but shaken up, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. So it hit something.
Yeah, you're watching this too.
Yeah, we're watching right now.
Yeah, hit right into the back of a small sedan, small car here, and I'm sure they're going to be checking to see if that driver's okay. We're going to show the crash, what we just witnessed a few seconds ago. Right there, as soon as this person had exited right there off the 14 freeway and then gotten onto this other highway and didn't hit any other drivers after the crash, but swerved. She swerved across those other lanes.
It's a woman. Wow.
Okay, officer's going to scope out the rest of the bus here. But Susie, do you know? Was it just we're thinking the one woman? I mean, what else did the driver tell you? The employee?
He didn't even see who jumped in the bus and took off with it.
Wow, so quick. And they were going to pick up a client in Pacific Beach?
Yeah.
Wow. And who knows why, you know, this woman would do this? You know, just This just always has us shaking our heads, and it's so dangerous, and what a danger it had posed to not only those officers but all the other innocent drivers. So, Susie, I mean, thank you for the time. I mean, you're dealing with this, you know, trying to get your limo bus back.
Yeah.
Oof.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, sweetheart.
Thank you, and take care. And again, I'm glad your employee is okay. And this just seemed to be a crime of opportunity, and that woman suspect jumping inside and stealing the bus out of San Diego.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Susie.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
And that was the owner of the Top Dog limo on the phone with us, watching this unfold and come to an end just as we are live here on KCAL 9. It looks like the suspect is not being treated for any major injury. She's just taken into custody after following those officers' commands, and they were doing a sweep of the party bus as well to make sure no one else was inside. Now checking on the driver who the suspect ran into. That person seems to be conscious, talking to those officers. So all in all, came to a very quick end here. And it looks like everyone's going to be okay. But wow. Is Susie still here?
Oh, yes, I'm still
Oh,
here.
hi. Well, since I still have you, just your emotions right now. I mean, and this is, you know, a company that obviously you're so proud of, and you take care of all your employees and your clients. I mean, what are your thoughts and feelings?
I am just in total shock right now. I really am.
Yeah. And tell me about the GPS tracker. When your driver told you.
We didn't have a GPS tracker there. We had somebody that called in to complain about the driving of the bus and going 90 miles an hour and swerving around on the freeway, and that's how we were. And the person stayed on the phone while we called dispatch to get them out there.
Wow.
Informing us where the bus was going and what streets was passing. So between us, the person, and dispatch, they were able to pursue this vehicle.
Yeah, so you had witnesses acting as your GPS tracker in this case. Okay, good to clarify that. Do you have trackers on the bus?
We do on 3 of our buses. Just this one we did not.
Okay. That said, do you also have cameras in?
Somebody called us and told us about it.
Right, because they were alarmed about what was happening and why the driver was acting the way they were. Do you have videos and radios as well on the bus that officers are going to want to look at?
No, we don't. We do have a radio for the back, but not in the front.
Okay.
I mean, video for the back. Yeah.
Okay, but nothing inside that would give a picture of what happened during this
what she was doing.
chase.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry about your bus. I mean, looks like it's going to be out of commission for a while.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, you guys.
Well, no, thank you for the time, and at least we can say that this is coming to an end, and we'll get back to more news here on KCAL 9. I'm going to check with my producer how long we want to hang on this. We've had Sergeant White on the phone. I want to thank him as well for his time and his insight. And okay, yeah. And speaking of, Susie, again, thank you. Owner there, and coming to an end here near Acton, this pursuit of a stolen party limo bus and the female suspect driver taken into custody. It looks like without any major injuries. The driver of the car that she slammed into also appears to be okay, talking with officers. We'll keep you updated on this throughout the day here on KCAL and also CBS 2 News. So keep it right here. We always bring you the breaking news, and we have fire engines arriving on scene